Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping straight into some really interesting material you sent over, excerpts from Padre Rico Padre Pobre.pdf, which most people know is Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, it's a classic, isn't it? And it sets up this really sharp contrast. You've got these two father figures, one, highly educated but always kind of struggling financially,
Right.
and the other, less formal schooling but incredibly wealthy. It's quite the setup.
Exactly. And that contrast, that's really what we want to explore for you today. What are those fundamental differences in how the wealthy think about money compared to, well, everyone else?
And what can people actually do with that? What are the practical takeaways for someone wanting to, level up their financial know-how?
That's the goal, because the pieces you shared touch on quite a bit, working for learning, not just earning, overcoming those mental blocks.
Getting started on actually building something.
Yeah, and honestly, some of these ideas might feel a bit counterintuitive. They definitely challenge that standard advice about school, job security. It should be interesting.
Should be good. Let's get into it. The book kicks off with that anecdote, right? The author's son questioning the old mantra, go to school, get good grades, find a safe job.
Yeah, and the kid brings up Michael Jordan, Madonna, even Bill Gates dropping out of Harvard.
Right. His point is, these super successful people, their wealth didn't really come from their degrees. Gates actually left his prestigious path.
It makes you stop and think, doesn't it? Like, how many success stories actually follow that exact script we're all told? Maybe not as many as we assume.
Exactly. And that leads pretty directly into this core concept the book hammers home, the rat race. How would you sort of explain that?
Okay, the rat race. Think of it like this. You work harder, you make more money. Great, right. But then your expenses creep up.
Lifestyle inflation.
And taxes take a bigger chunk. So you're running faster on the wheel, putting in more hours, but you're not really getting ahead financially. You're stuck.
So maintaining. The book paints that picture of the young couple, they get married, buy the house, have the kids.
The whole 9 yards.
And suddenly, they need those promotions, those raises, just to keep afloat. They're working nonstop but feel constantly squeezed.
And it's not just low-income jobs either. The book makes a point that doctors, lawyers, even military folks or government employees, anyone can get caught in this.
Absolutely. It transcends profession. And the escape hatch, according to the book, isn't necessarily a bigger paycheck.
No, it's financial education, actually understanding how money works.
Which brings up that story about the product testing session. The author was surprised, wasn't he?
Yeah, he noticed these professionals, bankers, business owners, programmers, their grasp of basic accounting and investing was, well, limited.
And that leads to that kind of provocative quote. Have you ever noticed there aren't many rich accountants or bankers or lawyers?
It's a bold claim.
It is. But the reasoning is that schools generally don't teach the financial strategies the wealthy use. Yet, paradoxically, who do people often go to for advice?
Those same professionals.
Yeah.
Who might be, stuck in the same rat race themselves.
Yeah, the analogy was seeing your accountant and banker stuck in traffic with you. They have their expertise, but maybe not personal financial freedom.
Okay, so if the usual path and standard advice aren't the full answer, what's the rich dad alternative? What's the big shift?
It boils down to one core principle, really. The poor and the middle class work for money. Simple enough. But then, the rich have money work for them. That's the crux of it.
And that's completely opposite to the poor dad's advice, which was solid traditional advice. Study hard, good grades, safe job, good benefits.
Two totally different playbooks for life.
So Rich Dad wasn't focused on grades or job titles for the author.
Not in the same way. He wanted the author to learn how money works, how to make it generate more money outside of just earning a wage. It was more like an apprenticeship, not a classroom thing.
And some of those lessons were pretty tough, right? Like working for almost nothing.
Oh, yeah. The 10 cents an hour job and then working for free.
What was the point of that? Seems brutal.
It was about emotion. To teach them not to let the fear of having no money or desire, just wanting more stuff, be the main drivers of their financial decisions.
Ah, okay. Because those emotions trap you in the cycle.
That's what Rich Dad argued. Fear makes you desperate for a job, any job. Then greed or desire keeps you chasing bigger paychecks, hoping that will finally make the fear go away. But it often doesn't.
So the rich use emotions to think, not think with emotions. Is that the idea?
Something like that. They recognize the emotion, but they don't let it dictate their actions in the same way. It's not letting the donkey chase the carrot forever, as the book puts it.
Right. Always thinking the next paycheck is the answer.
Yeah. So if emotions are a trap, the way out is knowledge, financial literacy.
And Rich Dad had a specific take on schools in that regard.
He felt schools mostly train people to be good employees.
Yeah.
Sophisticated bean counters was the phrase, I think, not necessarily people who understand how to build wealth independently.
So real financial smarts isn't just about being good at your job.
No, it's about understanding the mechanics, how money flows, and critically knowing the difference between assets and liabilities, and then
Buying assets. That's the fundamental rule he states, right?
Right.
Know the difference and buy assets. Seems simple.
Sounds simple, but the definitions are key. An asset, in his terms, puts money in your pocket regularly.
And a liability.
Takes money out of your pocket consistently.
Okay, and this is where it gets controversial for a lot of people, the house example.
Exactly. We're taught a house is our biggest asset, but the book argues often it's actually a liability.
Because of the mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, upkeep, all that money flowing out every month.
Right. It might appreciate in value, sure, but from a cash flow perspective, which is his focus, it's usually taking money out doesn't fit his asset definition.
So if focusing just on your job or even owning a home isn't the guaranteed path, what's the alternative focus, this minding your own business idea?
Yeah, and that phrase can be a bit misleading. It doesn't necessarily mean, quit your day job tomorrow and open a pizza place.
Okay, so what does it mean then?
In this context, it means focusing on building your asset column, acquiring things that generate income for you separate from your job.
Like what? Stocks that pay dividends,
Yeah.
rental property.
Could be, or even intellectual property or royalties. Anything that puts money in your pocket without you actively working for it in that moment. It could start really small, like a high-yield savings account even, just getting that ball rolling.
He uses Ray Kroc, the McDonald's guy, as an example, right?
Yeah.
Saying his real business wasn't hamburgers.
That's a story told in the book, yeah. Kroc supposedly said his business was real estate owning the valuable land under the restaurants. The hamburgers were just how his tenants, the franchisees, paid the rent.
Ah, interesting. So it connects back to the rat race. If you only focus on your paycheck, you're stuck. You need to build those other income streams.
That's the idea. Your job pays the bills, maybe, but your business is building your assets.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. The excerpts also touch on bigger picture stuff. Taxes, corporations.
Right, a little bit of history. The book gives this quick rundown income tax, starting, maybe, with the Robin Hood idea, tax the rich.
But then it spread.
Eventually, yeah.
Huh.
It expanded to the middle class, too. And according to the book, the wealthy figured out ways to shield their income.
Using corporations.
That's presented as a major strategy, not necessarily a giant building, but using the legal structure of a corporation. Think of it like a separate legal bucket.
And the advantage there is?
Protection, partly,
Yeah.
but also taxes. Corporations often have different rules, potentially lower rates, and importantly, they can often spend money on expenses before paying taxes.
Whereas individuals usually earn, get taxed, and then spend what's left.
Exactly. It's framed as this ongoing game almost between the haves and the have-nots, where knowing the rules, financial literacy is crucial.
So it all circles back to that idea of financial intelligence. It's not just about having money.
No, it's presented as a mental process, how you think about and solve money problems.
And it's something everyone needs, regardless of their job or income level.
That's the argument, and you see it clearly in those contrasting beliefs between the two dads throughout the excerpts.
Can you recap some of those core differences?
Sure. Poor dad saw the love of money as problematic. Rich dad thought the lack of money was the issue.
Big difference.
Huge. Or risk. Poor dad advised playing it safe. Rich dad said, learn to manage risk.
And the house. Asset versus liability.
That fundamental disagreement again. Or even just saying, I can't afford it versus how can I afford it? One closes off thinking, the other opens it up.
It really highlights how much our underlying beliefs about money shape our actions.
Absolutely. The book stresses that you need to choose your financial philosophies carefully, consciously.
Because money itself is powerful.
But financial education, understanding the game, that's portrayed as even more powerful, sustainable power.
Okay, so wrapping this up, we've gone through these key ideas from the Rich Dad, Poor Dad excerpts. What's the main takeaway for someone listening?
I think the biggest shift is that mindset change. Moving beyond just working for money to actively figuring out how to make money work for you.
Which means understanding assets and liabilities.
Really understanding them in cash flow terms, and then consistently, deliberately focusing on building that asset column. Even if you start small, it's about direction.
It definitely makes you look at your own situation. Am I on that hamster wheel? What's keeping me there? Am I just focused on earning, or am I actively building?
Yeah, and questioning that traditional advice, does it still hold up? Is it designed to get me where I actually want to go financially, or just keep me safe, maybe, but stuck?
So a final thought for our listener to chew on, maybe.
Okay, how about this? With everything changing so fast, the economy, jobs, technology, what's one small thing, one concrete step you could take, maybe even today, to start building your own financial intelligence? Just one step to create more options for yourself down the road.
Something practical to consider. We hope this deep dive has given you some valuable food for thought, maybe sparked some new questions for your own financial journey.